tonight our program is the history of Eudora's Dari Treat. We don't have like a principal or main speaker tonight. The idea is I'm going to talk a little bit about its context. Janet Campbell's going to come up here. She's going to share a bit. We've also going to open up the floor to anybody else here that has memories to share about Dari Treat. So that'll be kind of the format. And of course, the stories can relate to if you work there or if you just even visited there. Tonight's a good opportunity for us to document these stories and record them. And when you're up here, I remind you to please speak into the microphone and try to stay on camera so we can record this. Let's see. So I'm also going to read a letter that I received in the mail from Roseanne Nussbaum Wadley about her experience working at Dari Treat in the 1960s. And let's see. And then after we've talked about Dari Treat, we have Stacy Bluebaugh here with her family. We're going to invite them up here to the podium to talk about their business, which is Main Street Scoops and Sweets, which is the current ice cream store here in Eudora. They are located at 714 Main Street, which is our neighbor. And they're one of the best businesses in Eudora. They're very generous, they're very civic oriented, so we're very grateful. And you know, they agreed to come here. We offered to pay them, I think $200, and they said no thanks, just give us a lifetime membership instead. So it's kind of an even change there, so we're very grateful for that. It's very important to patron businesses in downtown Eudora because, you know, when you buy an ice cream cone from them, that enables them to pay rent, which enables the owner to maintain the building. It's a fact in historical preservation that when a building sits empty, it starts to deteriorate. So it's vitally important to support downtown businesses, especially in historic buildings. All right, sorry for that tangent. And after everyone has had a chance to speak here tonight, Main Street Scoops and Sweets plan to give out free ice cream. So we're very grateful for that. And Stacy became our 300th lifetime member, or our 300th total member tonight. So I think 102nd lifetime member. So when I started, we had 44 members, so we've come a long way. And let's see here. And then before I begin, I wanted to thank Marty Hammond, our excellent volunteer. She did a lot of work on this project this spring. She went through nearly every Eudora newspaper from 1954 to 1978 looking for Dari Treat related stories. When she found one, usually they were pretty mundane stories, but it painted a whole picture of the business, so I took a photo of it. After all that was said and done, then I could kind of piece together the history of who owned it. So that's really the basis for a lot of the history that we have of Dari Treat is thanks to Marty. And she's here tonight, and I think we should thank Marty for all her hard work. All right, so now I'm going to talk about Dari Treat very briefly. So for the first 100 years of Eudora's existence, from roughly 1857 to 1954, ice cream was a rare luxury for many in the community, especially before World War II. Electricity was not even installed in most of the rural homes in the Eudora area until the early 1940s. Before electricity, ice cream had to be made by individual families, and families could buy ice from Eudora's Hagenbusch ice plant, which is pictured, which was an operation for a good part of the early 20th century and make ice cream that way. So that's what people did before Dari Treat. In 1954, Dari Treat first opened. Eudora was a young and growing community. The population of Eudora increased from 600 in 1940 to over 2,000 in 1950. Of course, the reason for Eudora's significant increase in population was the sunflower plant, which opened up in 1943. Construction started in 1942. About 12,000 people worked at that plant, so a huge chunk of them moved into Eudora. And even after the plant went into standby mode after the war ended, a lot of them stayed in Eudora. So Eudora was a young community, it was a growing community, it needed new services. So of course many new restaurants opened in Eudora at this time to serve their new customers. Dari Treat was one of those new restaurants which took advantage of the fact that Eudora was growing. Eudora was a very young community in 1954, a community with a lot of kids, in other words. This was the heart of the baby boom, the post-World War II baby boom. The US had never had so many kids before. Accordingly, businesses like Dari Treat began to operate because it catered to young kids and families. Dari Treat was located at what is now 202 East 10th Street. When Dari Treat first opened, 10th Street in Eudora was K-10 Highway. 10th Street constituted K-10 Highway in Eudora from 1929 to 1977. Therefore, 10th Street was a major highway with significant motor traffic, and I'm sure Dari Treat opened on 10th Street to take advantage of all that traffic because that could lead to good business. All right, so now just a little bit about Dari Treat itself. Dari Treat had a lot of different owners, as you'll find out. The Eudora Drive-In restaurant, snack bar, and ice cream store called Dari Treat was originally built in 1954 by William Kelly Sr. Kelly leased Dari Treat to Mr. and Mrs. Carl Mingo of Lawrence, who operated it until 1956, when the Kellys took over. The Kellys sold Dari Treat to Mildred Trefz in 1963, and she owned the business until 1965. Mr. and Mrs. Wayne Powell purchased Dari Treat in 1965, enlarged it to the west, adding a restaurant with booths. In 1970, Mr. and Mrs. E.L. Folks bought Dari Treat. In 1972, a Mr. Elliott bought Dari Treat and hired the Kirby family to operate the business. In 1973, Dari Treat was purchased by Fred Stewart and his family. The Stewart family enlarged the building that housed Dari Treat to the east, including office space for the Miller Midyett real estate office, with Mrs. Stewart as salesperson. In 1974, Mr. and Mrs. Eugene Williams bought Dari Treat, with Dean Brumbaugh serving as manager in early 1975. Mr. and Mrs. William Watkins entered into operation as managers in late 1975. And then the last person to own and operate it, according to what we found, is Glenn Larcom. He operated it until it finally closed in 1978. It's interesting to note that Dari Treat closed in 1978, just 1 year after K-10 highway moved to its current location as a 4-lane divided highway. So it's quite possible that there just wasn't the vehicle traffic anymore to sustain the business after K-10 opened. Oh, and that's a picture of Glenn Larcom. And the other picture is from a tornado that came through Eudora in 1969. 202 East 10th Street, the building that housed Dari Treat, became home to Eudora Grill in 1978. The building was home to, at one point, a laundromat and a worm farm. Annabelle's restaurant operated there from the 1980s until the early 2010s. I think that picture of Annabelle's is from 2011. And then 202 East 10th Street has been home to several Mexican restaurants since then. It's currently home to Chorritos Plaza Restaurant. But nevertheless, for 24 years, it was Dari Treat, that's what it was, and it was an iconic Eudora restaurant. And then next, I plan to read a letter I received in the mail a few days ago from Roseanne Nussbaum Wadley about her experiences working at Dari Treat in the 60s. All right. July 1, 2026, Ben Terwilliger. I grew up in Eudora, Kansas. My parents moved to Eudora from Nortonville, Kansas when I was 4 years old. Eudora and its people have always remained very special to me. Following your Historical Society newsletter, I read about your upcoming program devoted to Dari Treat. I worked at Dari Treat for 2 summers when Mildred Trefz owned and managed it. Freddie, her husband, was our plumber, and they were a wonderful couple, the best of what small town has to offer. I have included a bit about my experience working at Dari Treat, and I have included an autograph I received from Governor John Anderson in 1964. I graduated from Eudora High School when I received an autograph on an order pad page. I thought you might enjoy knowing Dari Treat served anyone and everyone, even the governor of Kansas, who stopped by way back when. Regards, Roseanne Nussbaum Wadley. And then this is her account. I worked at Dari Treat in Eudora during my high school summers of 1963 and 64. The owner and manager was Mildred Trefz. Mildred had many high school-aged kids employed there, and she was a wonderfully kind, respectful boss. Olive Clark was the main cook. I knew Olive from years before when she and her husband owned Clark's Cafe, located on Upper Main Street in Eudora, next to my parents' store, the Nussbaum's Grocery, which is located in the Pilla Building. Mrs. Clark could cook. She turned out hamburgers and French fries with ease. Her hot beef sandwiches with homemade gravy were scrumptious and a real hit. The Dari Treat had 2 order windows on the front of the building and a restaurant addition on the west side. The restaurant consisted of a lunch counter and 3 booths. I don't recall tables at that time. We served small, medium, and large sizes for drinks and ice cream, plus there were shakes, malt, and sundaes. You could even order a banana split. Kids liked to order dip cones and often stared through the window watching the dipping process. During a few bloopers, when chocolate had not reached the correct temperature, the ice cream fell out of the cone into the chocolate vat. I experienced this to the surprise of onlookers. Soon enough, I did achieve dipping success, and I felt like a pro. If you chose to eat a meal at the Dari Treat, one used the counter or booths you could take out, eating it right in your car. During my work shift, I generally ordered the hot roast beef sandwich along with chocolate malt. My favorite drink was a cherry Coke using a squirt of cherry syrup and in a small sized glass of Coca-Cola for the price of 5 cents, or 2 squirts of cherry syrup in a medium glass for the price of 10 cents. I really enjoyed working at Dari Treat. I learned to properly count change, keep the restaurant clean, and work with pride. I liked the people I worked with, and we shared plenty of laughs as well. Because we were right on K-10, people from all around visited us. The governor of Kansas, Governor John Anderson Jr., visited Dari Treat, ordering from the window. I don't remember his actual order. I had just seen him that week before on Meet the Press, so I asked him for an autograph, which he obliged, writing his name on an order pad. I still have the autograph. She actually mailed that to us, and now it's on display in our museum. That's a scan of it on the PowerPoint there. Friday and Saturday nights were busy filling the parking lot. If you wondered what was happening in town or who was dating whom, the news generally passed along the Dari Treat. I remember one high school couple stopped by after they had returned from getting married in Miami, Oklahoma. The high school sports team came by for a sweet bite after their practices. The Eudora town crew had a regular booth. It was a very popular restaurant, and it seemed like every person in town showed up there at one time or another. I don't recall if there were any other restaurants in Eudora at that time. It seemed to me like Dari Treat was pretty darn popular. I was employed at Dari Treat, but when not working my shift, I was a customer. I crowded into a booth with my friends and ordered my favorite, the Mud, vanilla ice cream covered in chocolate sauce with cashews sprinkled on top. This wasn't a menu item, but a favorite for us. There we chatted away and listened to music on the jukebox. The Dari Treat has always remained a good memory for me. It was the place to be in good old Eudora, thanks to a wonderful woman named Mildred. And that's from Roseanne Newspaw. I believe she lives in Vermont, so I'm sure she would be here, if not for the 1,000 miles apart. So I was very grateful she sent that in, because I thought that was a very, very nice letter. That is all I have. So now I'm going to turn it over to Janet Campbell.
Yes, my name is Janet Campbell, and I am Bill and Una Kelly's granddaughter. And all of these folks right here are also granddaughters and grandsons, and we all at one time or another worked at the Dari Treat. We're also the bearers of knowledge of the secret Dari Treat. We know why Dari Treat is spelled D-A-R-I. We're not going to tell you until 2057 when we open the time capsule. So you'll just have to guess. But these are the 24 Kelly grandkids sitting on the front porch at 839 Locust, which is where our grandparents lived. It was just recently turned into a bed and breakfast. But they moved to Eudora in 1954, is that right, Barb? No, 44. They moved in 44, and really they were poor farmers down in southeast Missouri. And how Grandma ever had the idea to open a Dari Treat, I have no idea, because they probably never had ice cream even in their home. But I'm sure he never thought that it would be such a gathering spot for his grandkids and the family and create so many memories. And if we think about it, he created a business that's almost 60 years old and still flourishing in Eudora. So I think that's quite an accomplishment. And that cute little girl in the front is me.
Which one? There's a bunch of cute ones there.
You'll recognize them.
Where's Pam?
I don't think
Pam
I'm
is
in that.
hidden.
I don't think you can see.
That's Pam's arm.
Oh, yeah. The one in front of me is Patty.
Oh, yeah.
And that's Mary Jo sucking her thumb.
Yeah, I see.
This is not working, Ben.
Should be.
And another thing to notice, this is a Sunday, and where no one's worried about who's working at the Dari Treat because it wasn't open on Sunday.
It's the button on the side right there.
Okay. And it was also closed down when it first opened. It just had the 2 windows and not the interior. I think it closed like January and February.
That sounds right.
Am I remembering that correctly? I think it did. Anyway, when they moved to 939 Locust, it was right on K-10. And that was the main thoroughfare to go to the 3 shifts out at the ammunition plant. And you didn't go in your car and try to go anywhere on a time of shift change because it was just too busy. But Grandma, I don't know whether it was Grandma or Grandpa, had the great idea to open a laundromat. And they opened, the house has an outside entrance. And so that was perfect for it. And they put in, when I say a laundromat, it wasn't all new automatic machines. It was 2 sets of 4 wringer washers. And you talk about Mildred and our mom Helen, they got I could remember their arms going through those wringers many times. So they would do the laundry themselves. You just dropped your laundry off. They did all the laundry, they washed it, and then they had a big extractor, would extract the water, and then a big commercial dryer. And it was so big, we could get 3 of us in there. It was a great hiding spot. But when Grandpa sold the house, I think it stayed there because it was too big to move. But that tells a little about the laundry. And then this is Bill and Una, and they're 7 kids. My mom's the oldest, and this is Mildred Trefz, Bill Kelly, Joe Kelly,
Mary Margaret.
Mary Margaret Catsby, Frances Swedenberg, and Agnes Borland. None of them are with us, but that's the Kelly family. We were a non-camera group. We have very few pictures, maybe 2. And we also didn't have very many artifacts. I brought the only 2 I have. This was, you girls that used to work there will recognize, this was the caramel we dipped out of there was the hot fudge dipper, then the caramel dipper. And then this Dari Treat ice milk. I would love to find the Dari Treat sign though.
They lived at 839 Church Street.
939.
Not, yeah, not,
You keep saying locust.
I said Locust, oh, the Carries lived at 939, because we lived at 915.
939. I'm just, it's Church Street.
Then here again, this is my grandpa and Mildred and his youngest daughter, Agnes, and her husband, Jack. Jack is the only one still alive. He lives in Louisiana. And then those, you can see just the windows and the door, and this addition's not on yet. The only people I recognize in that picture are my nephew, Mitch Ryder, and Delbert Ryder. I don't recognize anyone else.
Wow.
And then this is a really cool thing that is in Janet Spring's basement, right here. This is I don't know if those of you remember the root beer barrel, and it was divided in half, and we would pour root beer in one side of it and Coke syrup in the other side of it. But I don't know how long Wayne used that after we left or what, but anyway, Janet still has it and it's very cool. Here's what were our dates then that we said about who bought it. Grandpa sold it to Mildred, his daughter, Mildred Trefz, and Pam, you guys ran it for 3 years.
I think Mom had it for 2 years.
2 years?
I was 4 years old, so I don't remember a whole lot.
Do you want to get up and?
I mean, I can say what I remember.
Okay.
So.
And then the connection, after Pam talks a little bit, well, I'll get to that.
It'll be very
Yeah,
little bit.
Okay.
All I remember is I was 4 years old. My mom would have been about 38 years old. And I was 4, my sister Judy was 3, and then we had a sister that was 2.5, Patty. And so Mom would take us, she would go down after hours to clean, and she would take us and put us on the, she put us on the floor on a blanket, and if we were real good and we stayed there while she cleaned, then we got ice cream or a cherry Coke. I do remember the jukebox, because the other way we entertained ourselves, Mom would open the jukebox and give me a nickel, and my job was to just keep putting that same nickel in there, playing a song, and then when the guy came to change the jukebox and put new records in, he would give the old ones to Mom. And we had those for a really long time, and I just loved all those 50s and 60s. I know we have Carl Perkins blue suede shoes, but unfortunately, Mom also became a child care. She took care of people's kids, and my brother, he was probably about 4. he and another little boy decided it would be real fun to put all those 45 records on the floor and jump on them like a frog, and they all got broken, so I have none of them. But anyway, that's about all I remember. I do want to mention that Roseanne, Mom was always very fond of, is it Roseanne Nussbaum? Yeah. And she's an artist, and she got has one of her watercolors, so that was really nice.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all I remember, sorry.
Well, as Pam said, I mean, from kids on the floor, I mean, we all grew up in the Dari Treat. We went there before school and after school. I know, Mary, you had a big historic moment there.
Yes, I remember very vividly. It was November of 1963, and for some reason, we were out of school that day. I don't remember why.
I think it was teachers'
But
meetings
we
for
were
the Catholic
watching
kids.
TV, my sister Angie and I, and it came across the TV that President Kennedy had been shot. Well, at that time, he had just been shot. So I just remember, for some reason, my mom was working at the Dari Treat that day. Her sister Mildred Trefz owned it, and Mom would, I think, fill in occasionally. And I remember running down there and running in the back door and, you know, screaming, President Kennedy's been shot. Oh my gosh, it was just, you know, just an unbelievable thing. You know, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have the social media or anything
I
back
can remember
then.
them bringing TVs in to watch the space
Brought
launches.
TVs in and watched when President Kennedy was shot. That's my most vivid memory of the Dari Treat.
So Mildred obviously was busy with 4 kids and
3 at that time. but
3, well, yeah.
One on the way, and
One
I
on
think
the
that's
way.
why she sold
So
it.
she did sell it to Wayne Powell, who is her
Brother-in-law.
brother-in-law's wife.
No, her sister
Sis-
was
Never mind.
brother. I'm sorry, Janet.
They're related.
Wayne Powell is related to
There you
the,
go.
to the
Nell Trefz.
to Nell Trefz. Okay. And Wayne bought it in, you guys, I think, held it the most, 65 and 70. You can see there was a farmer's table, and here's Wanda. Where's Wanda? There she is. They're working. And then these are some pictures that Janet and that brought. This is Mrs. Clark, that lived there on Locust Street, but she worked at Delmer's, cooked at the Key for a long time. And I had forgotten him. A lot of you may remember him when you see it. I know
Don
this group
Morris.
will.
I forgot all about him.
Don Morris, yeah.
Don is cool.
Don Morris.
Yeah, I worked, yeah.
And then Eddie, here's you. Do you remember? And Patty.
Patty.
Were you guys on a date? And here's Janet. And here's Joanne. And Pam. And there's the Dari Treat, and there's where the sign fell in. And that's really all the pictures we have. So I know, Barb, you knew a little more of the history because
I'm the oldest.
you're the oldest worker. So if you want to add some things, and then Janet can.
I have a few things. I've only changed this about 10 times today, but I didn't realize until I went through some of the Kelly genealogy, and I did find the contract between Carl Mingus and my grandfather when the Dari Treat was, evidently, Grandpa built the building in 1954 and must have leased it back to Carl and Vera Mingus, and they ran it for a couple of years, and then he, in turn, bought all of the inventory and the equipment back when he started to run the Dari Treat. So I think he built it on July the 8th, 1954. And then on December the 31st, 1956, it shows where Carl Mingus and his wife leased it back to the Kellys to open the Dari Treat. I began working there in 1957, my freshman year in high school, and I worked there until 1960. I made 35 cents an hour. Grandpa always insisted that we wear a white uniform, and in the 1950s it was stylish to either wear a scarf or a flower at the neckline. It was the place to be, especially on weekends. The parking lot was always full to capacity. It was the only place in town to get hamburgers, french fries, and ice cream. We always had freshly peeled potatoes, cut potatoes, a simple hand slicer to make our french fries. So they were always fresh, hot, and tasty. Everyone had to practice making ice cream cones. It was especially a challenge to dip the cone into the chocolate without losing the top. If the cone was not made to perfection, we would call it a goof. Grandpa would not allow us to waste the goofs. They were stored in the freezer. It didn't take long for the neighborhood kids to figure out that the Dari Treat had goofs, always free. My brother Ed Reed was 4 years younger than I. Those of you that know him know he grew up with 4 sisters. He worked the night shift at the Dari Treat from 5 until 10. He was a little bit afraid to walk home at night and would either whistle or sing. We lived at 915 Church Street, just a few blocks away, and we had a cherry tree that grew up between the sidewalk and the yard. It was a great place to hide. And about the time he would get close, we would jump out of the tree and scare the living daylights out of him. On another occasion, our sister Mary hid under his bed upstairs just after he got home from work and got into bed. Just before going to sleep, Mary raised up several times, just enough to move the mattress. He tried to holler for Mom, but the words were barely a whisper. Mom. Growing up in the 1950s was uneventful. I don't ever remember any trouble at the Dari Treat, even though it was the favorite place for teenagers to hang out. Partly due to our grandparents' bedroom window was faced west toward the Dari Treat lot. In those days, there was no air conditioning, so their window was always open. Best not to wake up Grandma and Grandpa. Thanks to the Historical Society and to Ben for his dedication to our small community. I can remember when Ben had a small corner office located in the Nottingham School. We as a community are thankful to him and to the Fred Trefz family for donating the building. That's about all I have, except I will give this to Ben, to this contract from the Mingus and the Kellys for the Dari Treat. And I do remember that Grandpa Kelly had a worm farm in the basement. When he had the laundry, he raised worms.
Yeah,
He did a little bit of everything.
Dari Treat, yeah.
Yeah.
And the mud.
Kind of get a little iffy. I mean, you want to mix a worm farm and Dari Treat.
The mud, they came from Oleosin.
Yeah.
Down at the drugstore. That's where they originated, because we always went down after school and had a mud, and I still have one on occasion.
Wanda and Janet and Pam and Patty, do you guys want to come up and share a little bit? Because you probably spent the most time there.
She doesn't want to come on.
Okay.
Sorry.
Who was your favorite customer?
My favorite? Well, I had a lot of them, actually. But Lee Irwin was one of my favorites.
Really?
Really.
I just always thought of Dobbs Clark sitting in there.
Gravy, and when he would come in, he would take the lid off of the pepper. It didn't come out fast enough, so he'd take the lid off the pepper. Shake it on his biscuits and gravy.
I bet you knew everyone's eating habits in town.
Oh, I did. I had a meal ready for them when they got there.
There you go.
Sure you did.
Okay, Wayne and my mom, Joanne, bought the Dari Treat in May 7th, 1965. The other day I called my son and I told him, guess what? I said, your grandpa bought the Dari Treat on your birthday. But of course it was before he was born. They ran the restaurant for 5 years, and it was like the employees were like a big family to all of us. if you ran into any of the people that worked for Mom and Wayne, you would always pick up right where you left off with them because, I mean, it was just like, you knew them so well. I ran into Ed at Dylan's one day here a while back, and I told him who I was, and he didn't even believe me. Just to mention a few people that had worked at the Dari Treat were Wanda Beach, Clarice Morris, Olive Clark, Susie Crawford, Lee and Bill Langston, Don Morris, Linda Kurtz, folks, Melody Westerhouse, Cruson, and Patty Grant. This was a very tight-knit group. They all stayed friends for 50 years. And as you can tell from the photographs from the dinners that they had at their house, they loved to have get-togethers with the people from the Dari Treat out at their Lone Star home. When Mom and Wayne bought the Dari Treat, I was 12 years old and Janet was 10. We started waiting on customers as soon as we found out that we started waiting on customers, and then I found out that I didn't like waiting on the customers that were my age, especially the boys. And so as time went on, I asked Wayne if I could start cooking. He said I could start cooking in the evening shift with Don Morris. So later on I did that, and then as I turned 16 and I was able to drive back and forth, I drove back and forth from Lone Star to Eudora at 6:30, 5:30, planning to open up the Dari Treat at 6 o'clock for breakfast. I loved it, working that. So I was working with Mrs. Clark, and when she would take days off, I would plan for the special and get everything ready, and the roast beef's ready for the hot beef sandwiches and everything like that. So I was in charge of the preparing and the organizing of the restaurant when she was off, and so that was kind of cool. One memory I have of the Dari Treat is Jim Oberg. He used to come in there pretty often, I mean, just like everybody else in high school did. And he walked in there one night, it was Halloween night. And I don't know how my mom knew it, but she knew he had eggs around the hem of his coat. He had an army coat on. And so she ran up to him like she was going to bust him. And he goes, no, 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 no. And then he went back and sat in a booth and sat on him. So I can remember that so vividly. But anyway, it's things like that that always happened at the Dari Treat, that people come in and, you know, they'd always leave a mark or something, you know, special, because they were, you know, different and they were all known. I don't know if any of you guys remember Dobbs.
Oh, gosh, yes.
I asked Janet what his first name was, and she said she didn't know. I don't know if anybody knows what his
Dobbs.
No, my husband knew, he knew.
was Mr. Clark.
What is
Oscar. Oscar, that's right.
Twin brother.
That's right,
Okay.
Oscar.
Oscar.
And he had a twin brother.
Oscar
He
Clark.
told me
He had a twin brother?
that he had
He had a
a
twin brother, Rockport down there in Ottawa.
Huh.
Anyway, he was a frequent visitor at the Dari Treat, morning, noon, and night. He was kind of a grungy old guy and always dirty. And my daughter was helping me type this up today, and she goes, "What do you mean grungy?" And I said, "Just dirty. I mean, just like he never took a bath." And, you know, he was okay with that. The teens of Eudora would always start trouble with him, start hollering at him and making fun of him. And then he'd get annoyed and start yelling back at him. I remember one time he came in the Dari Treat, the front door, and he said something to my mom as soon as he walked in the kitchen. And so she hollered at us and she said, "Come back here." I said, "What's going on?" He said he's going to flush a $100 bill down the toilet. And so my mom followed him back there, and he was down on his hands and knees looking to make sure it flushed down the toilet. And he was always doing stupid stuff like that. Burning money up on Main Street and stuff like that.
Hey Pam,
Uh-huh.
I just want to say something about him.
Okay.
He gave me a pair of brass bookends. They're dogs. I still have them. But also, the last day he was in Eudora, my husband and I got home from church, and he and his nurse from Topeka was sitting on our front porch. And he told his nurse he wanted to come to Eudora and see John Beach. And that's the last time he was ever in Eudora.
Really?
And I don't even remember what year it was.
But he was always doing crazy things like that. So, Janet?
Thanks, Pam.
Just to touch on Pam and Dobbs going through the kitchen. That was the only way to the bathroom. So it's not that we let him in the kitchen very often. Wayne was an all-around manager there. He did wait on tables or clean tables off if he had to, but he was mostly just taking care of business. And as Pam said, she cooked and she waited on tables. My job was really important. I cleaned off the dirty tables. I scraped the garbage in the 5-gallon buckets because we didn't have a garbage disposal then. And then I got to wash the dishes. So I was wanting a more important job, but I was, again, only 10 years old. So if I was lucky, Don Morris would let me flip a hamburger on the grill or decorate the buns for everybody. Wayne would normally leave home early in the morning to open up the Dari Treat, and he would be there all day, and then he would come home probably 11 o'clock at night, because every night he went to the dump to get rid of the garbage, and then he would come home. And speaking of the dump and Dobbs, one day Dobbs went to the dump a lot, and he'd lost his billfold. And if you know Dobbs, it was loaded. And Wayne was one of the people that he really, really trusted. So he came and asked Wayne to go to the dump and see if he could find his billfold. And he found it, took it back to him, and Dobbs was happy. But yeah, it would have been a full billfold, I'm sure. Wanda was a waitress at the Dari Treat, and she told me the other day that she was paid 90 cents an hour. And that was when?
Yes.
1965? And I'm thinking that if you got a quarter tip, that was a good tip back then. And if you got...
Somebody tipped back.
Oh, they did a little bit because we got tips. Well, I did anyway. Pam named off some of the people that had worked for us. Also, I had down Mrs. Baker. Didn't she wash dishes for us most of the time? And Clara Baker, Sonia Mueller, Kathy Gilroy, Carolyn Gilroy, Linda England, Janet Catsby, and then in one of the pictures with my mom and Wayne was a couple young ladies, and that was Brenda and Frances, and they were originally from Arkansas, and they got up here with the plant people, is how they got here. So many repeat customers came in several times a week, if not every day, like Dobbs. He was there morning, noon, and night. Bertie and Merle Morris came from across the street from the Standard Station, ate there all the time. Bus Johnson had come down and he would eat too. Charlie Comer, I don't know how many of you remember him.
The
Janet,
former artist.
that's his picture.
Oh.
He was from DeSoto, and he gave us that picture.
Mary Abel's brother.
Yeah, that's who, Janet said it was Mary Abel's brother, which I didn't understand, didn't know about. Barb, I think, said that she didn't recall any trouble at the Dari Treat. I just remember one time when Wayne got mad, and you probably didn't see Wayne mad very often, but this time he was really mad. He had some people that came in and they sat back at the table at the very back of the restaurant, and they took the ketchup and mustard and they squirted it all inside the menus and on the ceiling. And he was mad. And that's probably the maddest I'd seen him at the Dari Treat. And Janet talked about the root beer barrel and the 5-cent Cokes, and I don't think anybody mentioned the French fries and brown gravy.
Oh, yes, I love that.
After school, the high school kids would come down and they would order French fries and brown gravy. And I think Patty said if you didn't have money for French fries, you bought it, which was a quarter, I think. Then you bought a 10-cent bag of potato chips and ketchup? Yep. Yeah. So we did have a full restaurant every day after school. And then as we go out and eat, it's very expensive. And I can remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our roast beef and roast pork dinners with mashed potatoes and gravy, vegetables, roll, and salad were like $1.25. Yeah. Patty Buckholtz, Patty Beach, was there a lot because her mom worked there, and we became good friends, and our friendship continues today. And Eudora was always very welcoming to us when we came from Lone Star. I used to go and play at Janet Campbell's house too, right after we bought the Dari Treat, and Terry Bagby. Patty Grant, we still talk to her and see her a lot, as Pam said. She's like family. And we always had a good time with Patty, whether she locked herself out of the Dari Treat or if she let her car roll down the hill into Bryant's yard. I told her I was going to tell stories on her. Our parents built an addition onto the Dari Treat, and they put a tarp up between the new addition and where they serve food. And I don't think we could do that today, but they carried on. Halloween, we didn't give out candy, we gave out, guess what? Ice cream cones. So Pam and I went to school in Lawrence, but many people thought we went to school in Eudora because we spent a lot of time here. So we do appreciate Eudora, and I'm a resident of Eudora now and have been for a long time. And Pam used to be, but she's in Lawrence now. So.
I'd like to say one thing about Sonia Mueller. Sonia Mueller was a year behind me in school, and this was after I got called at home, got in trouble one day because I was going out to the bus and my skirt was rolled up. That's what we did to make him shorter. And so Wayne said, no, you go back to your bedroom and you get something else on. And I said, well, you must not care if Sonia Mueller leans over those tables, wiping those tables off very much, but you can see her butt. He said, well, Sonia? I said, not here. I said, I don't think that's quite fair. And he goes,
You still go back to your room and change your clothes.
yeah, still go back to your room and change your clothes. He didn't say any more about Sonia. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other Dari Treat stories to share? Tim, do you want to tell us about a goof? You want to come up here and tell us?
I got a couple things to say.
Come on up here so we can.
Well, you know, I know we went there when before Wayne bought it, but Wayne's the one I remember the most. You know, I've always been kind of a quiet, shy guy, and when Pam was working there when they first started, I'd go in there and she'd like flirt with me all the time. And I would try to, you know, but the thing about the goofs is like during the summertime, I probably went by there at least once a day to try to get a goof. And also they had, I was telling Gary this earlier, or Richard, they had what phosphates, cherry phosphates, grape phosphates, you remember that? And I love those things, and they were like 10 cents usually. Well, they had a 15-cent one too, and one day I had 15 cents, and I thought, I'm gonna go get a phosphate. So I asked for a chocolate phosphate. They're terrible. And it's like I wasted 15 cents that day. It really hurt. One thing, when I was in high school, I had this 64 Volkswagen, and my girlfriend worked in there, and I would come down 10th Street and crank the wheel, and I'd slide right up against the building. Drove Wayne nuts. But I did it because I could, you know. That's the only way I could get scratch in my car. But yeah, they had a Jumbo Burger that was the best hamburger I've ever had. And when I was like a sophomore, when I walked home from school, I'd stop in there, I'd get a hamburger and a Coke for 35 cents. Yeah, but...
And then go home and eat dinner.
and a goof.
Thanks, Tim. Is there anybody else here? If not, I'd like to introduce Stacy, and she's going to talk a little bit about ice cream in the 21st century in Eudora. So please welcome her up here.
Thank you for letting us be here tonight, Ben, and I sure hope, I thank you for sharing all those stories, and I sure hope when I'm long gone and my grandkids can sit in a room like this and talk about all the great memories. Most of my goofs go home with our staff, because I think they started to learn if they make a goof, they get to take it home. So, so just a little brief history. We lived in Olathe for 20 years. My husband's from Garnett, Iola area. I'm from Clyde, Kansas, if anyone knows where that is. It's under 1,000 people, I think about 694 today, approximately. So I had gone back to see my mom and sister back in the summer of 2022. We had just moved here from Olathe. We both wanted to get kind of back to smaller towns. And I was about to leave, and my sister asked me if I wanted to go for ice cream. And I thought, well, are we going to get some at the grocery store? Or she goes, no, we're going to go to the ice cream shop. There had been a local family. One of their sons had graduated high school that year, and the family kind of donated to make a small little ice cream shop just above what we call the French Quarters on Main Street in Clyde, Kansas. And so we went and got ice cream. I was like, that's awesome. So I came back here, and we've had businesses, my husband and I, over the years. And so I said, it sure would be nice if somebody, there's an ice cream shop like that down here in Eudora. I said, there's a Sonic and Dairy Queen, but that's not like real ice cream, super premium ice cream. So, I just kind of like, somebody needed to do it. I wasn't thinking we would do it necessarily, but I happened to be getting the mail one day, and I didn't know who he was at the time, but GW and Dawn were down there, and the construction was taking place at the building. And so I thought, I'm just going to walk over there and see kind of what's going on. And at that time, the side where we're now the gathering place rental spot is at was rented, he said, which was to Eudorables at that time. And he said, but this side was not rented. And I said, okay, so what do you think about maybe an ice cream shop or something like that? And he's like, yeah, that'd be a good idea. Would you like to do that? And I was like, well, I hadn't really thought about it, but I guess we could talk a little bit. And we had a daughter who is our baker, who does all of our baking at the shop, and she had an online bakery and was working just out of a rental kitchen in Bonner Springs. And she was ready to make a move about that time. So we've been talking about kind of her next steps. And so I said, well, what do you think about, what if we bring ice cream and your baked goods to the storefront, and we'll, this town, I think, talking to GW, he felt like it would be a good fit, something that would be good for the town and Main Street. So I said, okay, let's go for it. So we did, and so we opened in February of 2023, so just had our 3-year just a little bit ago. So and then we took over, well, we didn't take over yet, we're working with GW on the space next door. As you guys know, the lodge closed, which was sad to see that rental space go here in Eudora. So we're working hand in hand with him to manage that, to hopefully fill a need here with gatherings for locals, and we've pulled in a few people from smaller towns in other areas. So we're going to give that a really good run. Hopefully we can keep it going. So if you guys can share the word on that, that would be great. But so one thing I wanted to mention real quick was Asher Cohn, and we did pronounce it right. We made sure, but he, as Ben said, that's the oldest commercial building in Eudora. And from what I heard, I didn't see it, but I heard a lot of people thought it wasn't probably going to make it. Maybe it was.
Oh, no.
It was in pretty bad shape. So we have, I don't know, some people will comment and some people just think we don't know how to spell it, and that's okay. But we have Cupper Cone, and we spelled Cone, C-O-H-N, on our menu just to honor him, because I thought, well, some people aren't really going to want an Asher Cone ice cream or something. They wouldn't know what that is. So we just wanted to pay tribute to him, and so he's that is on our menu board in the shop. But so yeah, we've just been having a good time. I hope that we've been able to be all these wonderful memories that you guys talk about with the staff, with our family. We've got 6 kids, and most of them have helped and been involved in the business, and we have absolutely loved all the Eudora kids that we've had over the last few years. Have just been top-notch kids. I can't speak highly enough of the quality of kids that have come in and stayed with us. And one of our crew supervisors, this will be her 4th summer with us, and I had a couple college kids come back to work their 4th summer with us. So yeah, we're thankful for the Eudora community, and thankful for Ben next door and all he's done to talk about the shop too since we moved in. And it's just amazing how much history is here. I love history, and so thankful for it, and glad that we can hopefully just do a little bit to give back. We don't have French fries, and GW tried to say, you want to do hamburgers and French fries? I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to do hamburgers and French fries, but we will do ice cream. So yeah, so I don't know if you have any questions, or if you just want to, does anybody have any questions or anything? Or if not, we'll just have some ice cream. So, no? Okay, is there anything else you wanted me, any specific? Okay, well, thank you guys for having us, and we'll get ready to serve up some ice cream for you guys. So thanks for letting us be here tonight.
Thank you, Stacy. And as a history nerd, I love to learn that there's a historical pun right next door, Asher Cone. So that's pretty neat. So we'll have to get one of those for the museum. That, I believe, is all we have. So we'll go ahead and end the program. And in a couple minutes, they're going to present ice cream over here. So please help yourselves. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.